This show is produced by the Harwood Podcast Network.
Hi, I'm Cindy Harris. We love making this show available to you free of charge. And if you'd like to help us keep it that way, make a contribution to our Karma Jar or become a show sponsor. To learn more, visit our website.
Hey everybody, it's great to be back on 2 feet. As many of you know, I was in a cast for the first part of the year and not able to get out and do any photography, but I am out now and I've gone to my nearest wetland and I wanted to share that experience with you. Now, if you're unfamiliar with what a wetland area is, it's a place where water comes up during different periods of time and covers the land. And with that brings some very interesting plant and wildlife. You'll have both land animals and aquatic animals, and then there are also plants that have specifically adapted for living both in the water and out of the water. So it's a really interesting place to go and take your camera. Now, when I get to a place, I think about what lens I want on my camera to start with. And at the wetlands here, I started by walking around with my zoom lens because it's a big, vast area and I want to be able to zoom in on things very quickly. And as I was walking, I was looking for anything that caught my eye, and the red feather on this red-winged blackbird really did. But I also started listening, and I heard this little bird way off in a field laying on a spent cattail, and you can even see in this photo his mouth was open. He was just making the most beautiful calls. And then here at this wetland, some people had built some little nesting boxes, and I saw this beautiful bird. I don't even know what he is, but the back blue feathers really caught my eye, and I was so glad I had that zoom on. It also lets me catch groups of birds, in fact these little ducks here that I wouldn't be able to walk up to, but with my zoom I can get a nice shot of them. And these little water birds out in the water, I can also capture them. They were way far out. Then I start looking at plants, and as I'm walking around looking at plants, although I'm using my zoom, I am keeping some mental notes about plants I'd like to go back with my macro lens. I'm letting color catch my eye, and I'm also starting to look for some familiar plant life. Now these are cattails, and on the shot on the left, the cattail has actually bloomed, but I also found some young ones, so I wanted to capture those too. Found some of these great thistles and of course some California poppies, and that orange was just spectacular. Then I start looking for more subtle things like texture, and this was interesting because this was a fallen log with the grass around it, so I thought that was kind of interesting. And then I also am looking for light, and if you're out at different times of day, you're going to see light playing in all different kinds of ways, and that's fun to capture. And then I like to start looking for reflection. Because we have this water nearby, be looking and seeing what the birds are doing. Here he's flying overhead. Here's a heron. He was actually fishing, and you could see him and his reflection in the water. And then one of the little ducks. Now I've been doing all of this photography thus far in aperture value mode, but now I'm going to switch to the time value mode, and I want to start looking for some action. Now out in the wetlands, you have birds taking off and landing all over the place, and you're just swinging your camera wherever you see movement, and at the same time you're trying to change the time value mode to go as fast as you can, so you really never know what you're going to get until you get back home. But I have to say, sometimes these not so crystal clear images are really, really interesting. They almost look like paintings, so you really never know what you're going to get, but definitely go for it and see what you do get. When I'm out shooting, there always comes a point in time where I feel like I'm ready to leave my zoom lens and go to my macro lens. So this is what I do, and I start going back and looking at small things, things that I've walked by and I've made note of, and you find all kinds of interesting textures in all of these different plants. Now when I switch back to macro, I also switch back to aperture value mode, and this lets me start to play with depth of field. And I love doing that because I like to get some really crisp shot in the foreground and then get that kind of watery color background, so that's really fun to play with. Now when you are shooting these plants up close, don't just click off a few rounds, really sit with it, because you never know who is going to come into your frame and land right in the middle of your flower. Now once you feel you've gotten all the macro shots you want to do, before I leave a place, I always like to find a bench and just sit down and see what happens. Many times I'll go ahead and put either a wide angle lens on, or today I put my telephoto back on, and look who came out of the water to say hi, this whole group of Canada geese. Well, if there's a wetland area nearby where you live, I hope you'll take the opportunity to take your camera out and have a little fun. Don't forget to join us on Flickr. We have wonderful photos up there. And also, if you do go out, don't forget to send me a photo so that I can send you one of our photography badges. This is a fun thing to collect. We've got a great group of folks on Facebook, and as always, if you have any ideas or questions for me, please send me an email. Have fun, and I'll see you next time.